Black Friday is back, but are we still so into it? Or is it just a leftover from lockdown energy? Remember in 2020 when Nintendo Switches are flying off the shelves? Everyone, the only thing they can think about is to decorate the island. And yes, what fruits that you had on your island matters. With the new Switch in the horizons, is Black Friday still the best time to buy, or is it just a myth that we love to repeat? So I decided to take some Google Trends data and see if 2025 is gonna peak as much as lockdown did. Like everyone else, I grabbed my Switch during lockdown. I was trying to make my island as pretty as I could. I mean, kind of. Nintendo took advantage of the idea that everyone is in the house and had so much free time and needed distraction. So at that period, e-commerce just exploded. So many people had so much time to just browse it online and pick up a new hobby. And that Black Friday is the best time to the ideal best deal. In the last 5 years, the buying behavior has shifted. Black Friday culture used to be a full-on 5 a.m. queues, people fighting on the TV aisle, but now has completely changed. People can just browse it and then open more tabs, have tracking, promo codes, and week-longs of Black Friday going until Cyber Monday. We are savvy too now. We can use browsing exchanges, price history charts, and a healthy dose is this is a real deal or not? After working few years in comments, I know how Q4 can be pure chaos, and Black Friday is the thing that we spend the whole year planning for. But is this hype still a thing, or is it completely faded? Now it's time to stop guessing and look at the data. So here's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna grab the Google Trends data from Black Friday and as well for Nintendo Switch. And we're gonna look what brings the uplift in each and see what's actually going on with these data sets. Quick reminder, pulling Google Trends data, it is a patience test, endless waiting, too many coffees, and a silence cry. It throws you a too many requests error, and no 60 seconds break can magically fix it. Sometimes you're just gonna have to wait for another day. As we said before, Google Trends data normalized, so making a comparison with it is very messy. But thankfully, Lee already created a basket to normalize these terms. So if you want to know more and how to do it and why to do it, I'll link the video of her explanation down below. Scale sorted, and now we need to figure out what days are the Black Friday. Black Friday isn't a fixed day. It's the 4th Friday of November. I could look of each, for the last 5 years, which day that day could be, but I'm a data science. I'm lazy, but I'm efficient. So I just build a function to solve out my problem. To measure these uplift properly, I decided to get the baseline for the 28 days before and the 7 days before, as well as the 3 days window of these searches. With those KPIs in places, we can finally see the clear picture. So you can see the massive spikes in 2020, and the Black Friday definitely just set up the Nintendo Switch demand. We run those KPIs in an unscaled data first on purpose. Why? To show the pain. 1 year can be completely fine to see it, but if you're comparing the US 2020 to US 2025 or different markets, you can see those numbers won't mean the same thing. So we clean it, stitch it, scale it properly with the same APIs, but now is a story they can hold in different markets and different years. So the results is clear answers, and the bottom line is unscaled data just proves the point that we need to scale the data. A scaled, clean data set makes the analysis actually useful. So we can see a flatter line, flatter peaks, way easier to understand. With that in place, let's look at the chart for the Black Friday uplift versus the baseline in the year 2020 to 2025. In 2020, it is a wild outlier, about 3.8 times compared to the baseline. And that will be due to the lockdown as well as the shortage of Switch. In 2021 and 2023, we can see a massive decrease, about 2% about towards the baseline. It might be due to the fact that everyone already bought the Switch in the previous years. In 2023, it rebounds. It goes to 1.55 times, and in 2024, and it steps up to 1.85 times. The headline is, in 2020, the single day urge hasn't been returned. But since 2022, the Black Friday effect has been rebuilt. And remember, the peak uplift isn't the full story. We need to look at around the 10 days so we can see the overall season. In scale, we can clearly see the difference between peaks. We can see the classic 2020 with the peak of the lockdown and the first day, and we can see the quick cool off. So a massive spike to a little runway. In 2024, there's a modern faster line. So it peaks before and then stay for at least 3 days after, so we can see more a clear view of this curve. But that's not all we can do. We can squeeze more intel from these data sets. So we can do something called feature engineering. So turning these massing data and then a more clear conclusion. On the scale data of the switch series, we separate it in 3 windows. So the first window will be the 28 days before the Black Friday, so we can get the baseline, what happens. As well as the core week, so it will be either 3 days before the Black Friday or 3 days after, so we can get the full picture. And the last one would be the 14 days of the Black Friday, so we can get a complete understanding what is happening on this period. So the first question would be, how big is the Black Friday spike is going to be? So comparing like apples to apples. And how big is going to be the whole week? Were the search accelerating between Black Friday? And how much did the last week actually accelerate it? We only kept the years that has a solid information with the pre-window for the Black Friday and the Black Friday. And anything that's lacking any information, we just completely removed it. That leaves a clean per year table, while we have the spike power with the peak momentum and the season size and momentum timing. And with these series normalized, those features are now apple to apple and no arguing with raw trend data. From that, we're gonna use 2 simple modules to answer 2 simple questions. First, we're gonna use the logistic regression to find how likely is 2025 to peak as high as 2020. Turning to a simple yes or no questions, using the linear and bounded to see the probabilities how this is likely to happen. Linear regression will ask how much of the peak size can we expect for 2025. We're going to use the same inputs, and instead of answering a yes or no, we're going to look for the magnitude. It will be faster, transparent, and we can actually see which feature we can uplift this peak, and then we can compare it to 2020. Why keep it simple? We only got a few years of data sets. So if we use any fancy models, we can actually hide the story. And those 2 clear coefficients can honestly identify and map perfectly our KPIs in classifying if either 2025 is going to reach 2020 and how much should be the actual peak. With clean features, scalable comparisons, we get straightforward answers. Quick read on the model results, then we will land the plan. Logistics hits the 2020 level spikes is a yes or no. The coefficients is the error under the curve 7 is the boss here, is a 0.81, and the rise 7 days helps with 0.10, and the pre-slope barely moves the needle with 0.01, but the negative intercept is minus 12.77, and that means there needs more substance. The high of the area under the curve week to cross the 2020 bar is 1 day's noise, won't do it. Linear, it will be how big the 2025 peak will be, and all 3 matters. But differently, the area under the curve 7 leaves the peak with 0.16, the rise less 7 adds a clear bump with 0.24, and the pre-slope matters more here in the classification is 1.32. And measuring the steep pre-Black Friday momentum flattens the peak even if it doesn't decide the yes or no. Translation is, if 2025 wants to be the rival of 2020, it can't just win with one doorstep. It needs to win the whole week to be able to change the momentum, building the momentum to reach the peak and win this battle. And that's the story. We started with unscaling data to show the pain. Then we scaled the data to compare fairly. Then we used the feature engineers to see the spike, the build up, as well as the season size. And we just used 2 simple models to answer 2 simple questions. My call is 2025 won't outspike 2020 one day. But with a bundle and a last week push, it can win on a solid 10-day streak. That's what we measure here. If you like videos like these, subscribe to us and leave a like. And let me know in the comments if you're gonna buy the Switch this Black Friday or you're gonna wait for Cyber Monday.